I want to talk about 1, not having a grasp on your own finances. 2, the habit of spending money as soon as you get it. 3 is mistaking luxuries as necessities. 4 is assessing opportunities and risk. 5, not investing. 6 is having a scarcity mindset. 7 is spending money every day. And 8 is underestimating your network. Most people think that if I just make more money, my money problems are going to go away. I bet you've made that comment before. I just need to make more money. I need to start investing. I need to start watching YouTube videos and learn how to do this stuff. I'm sure you think about this all the time, which is why you're watching this video in the first place. So the other day I was doom scrolling on Instagram, and you know how like sometimes you're like looking through your feed and like some weird stuff pops up and you're like, why is the algorithm showing me this? Anyways, I came across this lawyer who she has like 70 posts and like 100,000 followers or something. She was basically saying this in a position to protect her female clients, that a lot of them, many of whom are college educated, they rely so heavily on their husbands to handle the finances that they don't know, what is in their bank accounts or anything about money at all. When you are raising young children and you're sleep deprived and they're going through the tantrum throwing phase, my son's going through that right now. During those first few years, like you don't even know left from right. Like I am exhausted before my kid even goes to school. But anyways, having a grasp on your finances is really the first step to money management, right? When you don't know what your income and your expenses are, what your financial baseline is, how to set financial goals beyond income, knowing which habits contribute to your financial goals and which ones don't can really put you in financial quicksand. You know that feeling in your gut when you've been spending too much money lately? And it's like, you feel really guilty and like, you need to check your bank account, but you're like super uncomfortable to do it. And I know that a lot of people watch my personal finance videos because they want to learn how to be better with money. Everyone wants to be better with their money, right? But it can also be really uncomfortable doing it yourself if you feel like you don't know what you're doing. I remember the first time I bought a stock 10 years ago, I didn't know what I was doing back then, right? I was like, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? Am I going to press the buy button? Like, is this the right thing to do? And back then it was just like, I think I was just buying shares of TD Bank or something like that. If you are not comfortable with handling money, your inflows and outflows and decisions around money, you can definitely hire a financial planner or a financial advisor, a wealth manager or a money coach. The first step to getting a handle of your finances is to track your own spending and just have an understanding of the dollars in, dollars out. And the goal is to be proactive with your money so that you can control your money instead of having your money control you. The habit of spending money as soon as you get it. Now, a lot of people, and obviously this is just my own assumption, if they didn't grow up with money or they didn't come from a family that taught them good financial habits, they don't really realize what options they have to do with their money other than to spend it, right? And like, again, this is just an assumption. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes people, they get a chunk of money and then they immediately start buying things because they think that that's what you do once you get money. You buy this, you buy that. Part of the personal finance education space, right, is shifting from a consumption mindset, which is a short-term mindset that money is meant to be spent, to a long-term mindset that money is meant to be saved and invested. I'm almost 100% certain that had I not become a CPA, I would be the type of person that's much more frivolous with spending. And the only reason I'm not is because my perception of money is different. Because I've spent thousands of hours in finance, right? There's this saying that 10,000 hours makes an expert. So like literally that, right? And the way I think of it is when I get a chunk of money, my goal is to have a fat bank account, investment properties, and a big stock portfolio that grows on its own. That's what I want. Because I think the alternative version of me that didn't become a CPA, that version of me that wants nice things, that version of me that wants big house, that wants a nicer car, that wants nice clothes and shoes, that wants to say yes to guacamole at Chipotle, that version of me wants to spend what I make and more. But I know that rich people, while they do spend money as well, they also know how to clearly manage their income, their expenses, how to set short-term and long-term goals, and the importance of acquiring assets with the money that they have and the money that they make. Mistaking necessities for luxuries. So when I was younger, I used to come home every day from school and I would watch makeup and fashion videos. Those are my favorite YouTube girlies. I still remember all of the same YouTubers that I would watch from like 10 years ago. They would show off all the makeup that they buy, their purse collection, the shoes that they had. And then once I became a corporate girly, I would always look on YouTube for outfit inspo, right? I would literally search up 9 to 5 work outfit ideas for petite Asian girls on YouTube. And then I would like go through the description boxes of those YouTubers and I would buy the clothes that they showed, right? Because I really liked the way that they looked. And then I would set these luxury wish lists of like all of the, like the bags and the shoes and the clothes that I wanted. And I remember some of these YouTubers and other influencers saying that their handbags, really expensive handbags, are investments, and their shoes were investments because they can resell them, right? Down the line. They wear them a couple of times and they can resell them. And I, have seen some girls showing off their handbag collections, even single shopping hauls from a single vacation. And just from their shot alone, you can see that they've spent more than $100,000 on what they're showing. And one of the biggest revelations that I realized, again, this is through work experience, is that rich people don't do this in real life. They don't have luxury wish lists. They have lots of assets. They have investments. They have stacks and stacks of tax slips and stock portfolios. And I remember when I had this revelation feeling kind of sad because I was like, well, what about my luxury handbag collection and all of my clothes when I make it in life? I'm really grateful to be a CPA today because I'm really passionate about educating people on personal finance and business education, because I almost feel like by virtue of almost a little bit of dumb luck, I was able to be exposed through this. And sometimes when you don't know what you don't know, you make decisions thinking that you're doing the right thing, only to realize through your own mistakes and failures that you're not. Back to the personal finance point, it is a stronger reframe when it comes to investments, as thinking of investments as public company stocks, equity in a private business, or ownership of real estate. And being quite stubborn about those three things as the definition of what an investment is. And so now when I think about my luxury wish list and all the things that I want to buy so that I can take really nice photos for Instagram, I know that I have to figure out how to make more money first and make enough money so I can treat these things as fun, not as investments. Assessment of opportunities and risk. You know those people that you go on vacation and sometimes they're like in Vegas and stuff like that, they try to sell you on a timeshare property and they try to convince you that it's an investment. And sometimes people do buy them. Like even people that I met that have money and are good at business, different businesses, buy timeshares, because business investing are two different things. So, this one is kind of tricky because with experience comes wisdom. It's almost like an intuition that you get only by having done it before yourself. It's like driving a car, right? The first time you drive a car, it's stressful. My dad taught me how to drive a car when I was 16. And I remember one time I changed lanes without shoulder checking. And he freaked out on me. And then I freaked out, like holding the steering wheel, I freaked out because he was freaking out. And, now that I have a kid myself, I was telling Kevin, my husband, I was like, when our kid's 16 or like whatever the driving age is now, and he's learning how to drive, I'm not going to do that because of that experience that I had when I changed lanes without shoulder checking. I think it's like pretty terrifying to like be a parent of a teenager that's learning how to drive for the first time. But that's kind of like the same thing when you are thinking about investing and opportunities. And everyone thinks that they're making the right decision when it comes to investing. Everyone wants to make the right decision when it comes to investing because everyone wants to use their money to make more money. There's this very famous quote from Jeff Bezos where he says, Amazon has made billions of dollars of failures. Failure inevitably comes along with invention and risk-taking, which is why we try to make Amazon the best place in the world to be. In business, all money is made from taking risk. But understanding your own relationship with risk, understanding what you consider to be a calculated risk worth taking, building relationships and networking and learning from other people what is a good risk and what's not a good risk, bettering your own knowledge of business education, exposing yourself to new opportunities and learning how to not let yourself wipe out with one bad decision so you can develop that intuition. Kind of like that driving intuition that you get when it comes to assessing investment opportunities. And so with more experience, with more risk taken, and with more opportunities, you will become better naturally. And then it starts to feel easier. And then it kind of starts to feel like luck is now on your side. Investing. You see, everyone on YouTube and on social media, especially in the personal finance space, is like, make sure you invest. You have to invest. These are all the consequences of not investing. If you don't invest, that's terrible. But then no one tells you what to actually buy, what stock to actually buy. By the way, I'm currently working on an investing series, so make sure you drop me a comment below on what your biggest questions are when it comes to investing. And no, I'm not going to tell you what stocks to buy. So my son is really young right now. He's just a baby, but when he's older, when he's an adult, I'm going to encourage him to, learn how to start investing, and mainly just because I think it's a good form of self-education that helps people get control over their money right? And it helps build self-confidence in your own decision-making. I'm not saying that like index funds are necessarily going to make you rich, but for myself, I started my own personal finance journey, learning how to invest small amounts of money and buying stocks myself with the money that I save from corporate. And this was years and years before I went into business. And what happens is when you start to make money from investing in something like the public markets, which is relatively safe, you then have more confidence in your own decision making when it comes to taking risk, right? And then you can take that confidence into doing other things, which is maybe like starting a business. And then obviously there are financial reasons to invest as well. Your cash monies gets withered down by inflation. If you hold too much cash, inflation is typically around 2%. I think these days it's higher. You do not get to take advantage of any employer matches if your employer offers it to you in your agreement with them. You don't get to take advantage of tax deferral. The stock market, decade over decade, has just gone up and up, and it's a relatively safe way to park your money if you can approach it with a longer term mindset and see the markets as a way to preserve wealth. Another great thing about the stock market is that you don't need to save up huge chunks of money compared to real estate. By the way, check out my video up top there where I talk about the difference between real estate versus the stock market. Both are good options for putting your money into. Typically with investing, it's lower barriers to entry because you can just put small amounts in, dollar cost averaging over time, rather than needing to save up for years and years for this, lump sum payment that you would to get into real estate. The next is scarcity mindset. And when it comes to thought patterns, there are very similar patterns of belief that people have with or without wealth. Now, personally, I was raised, and I think almost everyone that I know, again, this is just an assumption, I could be wrong, was probably raised with some degree of fear, right? Everything is like fear-based, okay? Like you're rich people, they're evil. Like all of these problems that we need to complain about, like we're victims, we like to blame other people. Of course, people that have money, they complain too. I'm not saying that they're perfect, they have problems, but it's the fundamental relationship that they have with money, specifically the language that they speak in their own mind, with money, with themselves, with their own life decisions, with the action they take or don't take, with the people around them. It's just a different conversation. It's like you have to be driven, motivated, inspired before you have money in order to have money. When I was younger, nobody taught me how to value my own time. Like when you're working in corporate, you are praised for actually devaluing your time, right? In corporate, they praise you for working more hours for making the same amount of money, meaning that you're actually making less money for every hour of work that you put in, right? And that's actually the complete polar opposite of what a rich person would do. Rich people, they don't devalue their time, they value their time. There's almost no way that you can lecture people on not spending money every day without sounding preachy. So bear with me for 30 seconds here, okay? But this is also the single biggest financial habit that leads people into paycheck to paycheck mode, right? It's when you spend money every day and then that drains your bank account down every 2 weeks until your next payday. And so if you don't want to be broke, if you don't want to retire broke, if you want to pass money down to your kids, if you don't want to feel broke, just remember that $30 a day on food is $900 a month on food, which is $10,000 a year. And if you invested that, that would really put you ahead. So gas station trips, liquor store trips, buying small things here and there at the grocery store, your Amazon checkouts, little subscriptions. I don't know how to say this without sounding preachy, but the price to pay for not being broke is short-term satisfaction. And so when I want to buy something and I have this like temptation to spend money, I stop myself for 24 hours and see if after 24 hours, is it still something that I'm thinking about? Is it actually something that I need versus want? And the last tip here is underestimating your network. So the power of your network is really important in achieving and accumulating wealth. Meeting people along the way is the reason that I've been able to change my life. And almost everyone else that I've met, that I've observed, have been able to change their life as well. They also met someone in real life who showed them that they can change their life. Yeah, as much as I love social media and YouTube, I think the internet's like a great place for self-improvement. And you can journal and you can law of attract and you can manifest and you can do all these things, but nothing is going to change you more than meeting the right people and being around the right people. And you don't have to spend that long with them. I personally didn't grow up with any wealthy connections and I had to build and nurture relationships myself when I was in corporate and now that I'm in business. There are so many free resources online now for business education. You can learn how to make $10,000 to $20,000 a month online very easily. You can get a whole business education, traditional business education on YouTube. Back 10 or 20 years ago, we had to go to really expensive universities to even learn what debt to equity even is, right? Or what SWOT analysis even is. You have to go to school to learn how to read financial statements. And so much of that is now available online. Between YouTube, Google, and ChatGPT, there's almost nothing you can't learn online. If you like this video today, you're gonna love my other video on how many Americans have $1 million. And in that video, I did a lot of research behind it. I talk about habits of millionaires, how many millionaires there actually are in the US, what the definition of being a millionaire actually is, and how you and everyday people can become millionaires through some really good money management and financial habits. So make sure you check out that video up top. Let me know down in the comments below what questions you have about anything I talked about in today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Till next time.